You're listening to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast, where we discuss whatever the fuck we want to. And yes, we can put sex and drugs and Jesus all in the same bed and still be all right at the end of the day. My name is Devanin, and I'll be interviewing guests from every corner of this world as we dig into topics that are too risque for the morning show, as we strive to help you understand what's really going on in your life. There is nothing off the table, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right into this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. I'm your host, Evan Hubert, and I am so thankful that you are with me again on today. So on today's episode, I'm talking with a woman by the name of Anna Leonarda. She's a breast cancer survivor, and she's gifted the world with a dating app called Entwine. That's Entwine. Now, this app is for those who may not be able to or prefer not to fully engage in sexual intercourse. Now, we all know what a big deal sexual dysfunction is in the world today. You know, sometimes our bodies just don't do what we want them to do. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about sexual implications for veterans. We're going to talk about how self-esteem can be related to sexual limitations. And we're also going to cover things like the value men place on sexual performance, which is a huge deal in and of itself. Pay close attention to this episode. Stay tuned because I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Anna, you badass bitch, you. How are you today?
Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm fan-fucking-tastic. My new year is off to a phenomenal fucking start. My health is great. My wealth is great. My mind is great. My cats are great. My boyfriend's great. My garden's great. Everything's great.
Great. Great to hear.
So I've been looking forward to this here episode because we are going to talk about vaginas and how they can be broken and everything. And you created a dating app called Entwine, which we're going to really get into. And of course, all of this information will be in the showy notes, as they always are. You created an app specifically centered for people who have sexual dysfunction, be it men with erectile dysfunction, women with, as you coined it, broke vaginas. She said that, I didn't say that, so she can get away with that.
Yeah.
And so it's a really cool app that you made and a service that you're now offering to the public. But before we go down that delicious path, we're going to talk about you, and what led you to this here. And so, any opening words you have for the world, my dear?
Just get ready for my broken vagina story. It's definitely unique.
So we're going to work in reverse it for a little bit. So I read about, when I was researching you, I read that you're a breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
So I want you to talk to me about what the emotions were like. Like, walk me through your emotions when you found out you got this diagnosis. Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was actually, when I found the breast lump, I was in the shower. I was 36 years old. And I just, right prior to that, I lost like 18 pounds willingly. So I was like, finally, this is the weight I want to be at. I feel great. I look great. I felt confident for a change. And so then I was in the shower and I happened to have a bar of soap in my hand, and I happened to cross a lump on my breast. And I thought, well, this is weird. It's never been there before, but maybe because I lost my weight, that's where I found it. But that's why I found it. And I was just like, well, it's probably nothing. And I worked in the pathology department at the time as a secretary. So I thought, well, most people that come in, they're older, that get diagnosed or with breast cancer or any kind of cancer. So the next day I went to the gynecologist, and just a couple of months prior to that, she was telling me I needed to get a mammogram. She's like, you're 36 now. You need to start thinking about getting a mammogram. I'm like, nah, I don't need to do that. I'm too young. So when I went to her, she's like, well, yeah, it feels like a lump. It's probably nothing. But so long story short, I ended up getting the biopsy, and I had to wait a whole 7 days for the results. And once I got it, I kind of had an idea something was up, because the people that I'm friends with in the pathology department were like, are you doing okay, honey? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? Well, just wondering. And so there's a lot of like emotions going through, because I'm like, wait, is something wrong with me? Because why is everybody being so sweet to me now? So was a lot of paranoia going on too. So that well, maybe I do have cancer. And one of my friends is like, you need to call your doctor. These results are not good because she couldn't give me the results, but she just like knew I was like freaking out. And so yeah, I had breast cancer. I was like, whoa. I mean, it was on my mom's 60th birthday. I was at her house celebrating her birthday, and I didn't tell her that I even had a biopsy because I thought, it's nothing anyway. So yeah, it was a little shocking. And then I ended up having actually 3 tumors in my left breast, which was just I had no idea. I had cancer. I thought I felt great. I looked great. I didn't feel sick. I didn't look sick, and so it's definitely very life changing.
So was there a family history there of the cancer or
My one cousin had it when she was in her 30s, but that's it. Like there was like no cancer at all that I know of in my family. Lucky me. Yay.
well, all things happen for a reason, my dear. So
Exactly.
how were you
Yes.
able to so you're cancer free as of today?
Yes, 9 years.
So how were you able to overcome that?
Well, I had to have multiple surgeries and six surgeries to be exact, with mastectomies, double mastectomy, and then also reconstruction surgery. And my cancer was fed by estrogen. So the goal is to get all the estrogen out of my body, which can cause low sex drive. And so I had to go through chemotherapy. I lost all my hair, and then because I wanted to get rid of all my estrogen, I decided to have a total hysterectomy as well. So I was forced into menopause at a young age. So a little it was a little hard on my body, but I managed through it. The chemo wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, which was helpful because I had 2 young kids at the time, and I still wanted to be a mom. I didn't want to suffer and or show anybody that I was struggling, because I felt like I was supporting everybody else around me or reassuring them because they're crying all around me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sad for you. And so I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll be all right. I'm just patting them on the shoulder. And I'm like, wait a minute. Supposed to be comforting me. But so I was pretty strong through the whole thing. I don't think I ever really dealt with my emotions with with all the cancer stuff that I did go through. But I went through. I was determined to beat it. I wanted to be there for my kids, and here I am. So
Well, congratulations, bitch.
thank you.
I'm glad to have you here. Now, okay, so you mentioned that your cancer that you used to have was fed by estrogen. So in order to defeat that, it caused you to have a low sex drive. Once the cancer was gone, did your sex drive come back?
It didn't. So I actually lost my sex drive. I actually never really had a sex drive, to be honest with you. So when I grew up, I had something called endometriosis, and that causes painful intercourse, which eventually led to lack of libido. And then so I have always struggled with low libido. So the chemo and the treatment, everything made it even worse because there was even more pain and dryness involved. So
Okay,
my vagina broke before my chemo, before my cancer.
right. So, because when I was researching you, I read that something happened after you had your second child. And what do you think it? Do you think it was the stress of the pregnancy that kind of like pushed your body over the edge, or
As far
um,
as the broken vagina thing or the cancer.
well, no, it's sort of the broken vagina thing. Like, what happened after you had the second child? Because I was reading about it in your blog. You were saying like
Mhm.
after you had your second child, like something changed, like in your body. Did everything become more painful then, or
It was always painful. So I think with the endometriosis, it was always, since it was always painful over time, my vagina was just like, get the hell away from me, whatever coming at me. So I ended up I was trying to have intercourse with my ex-husband, and it was like nothing would go in there. It was like hitting a wall. I'm like, what the heck is going on with me? So I went to the doctor, and she said, well, you have vaginismus. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And she's like, well, the opening of your vagina is it's just spasming because it's probably just anticipating the pain, that it's that's its natural reaction, is to just kind of spasm up and not allow anything to enter there. And so I was supposed to go through physical therapy or pelvic floor therapy. And that involves like using these dilators where I had to slowly stretch the vaginal opening, which is a long process and not pleasurable for sure. And it's like the size of the pinky. is the first size of the dilator, and then once you're comfortable with that, then you move up to the next size, and then you just keep graduating to the largest size, which is Godzilla, which I would never use because it's like I don't want the size. It was just enormous. I don't even know how to explain it. So I just call it Godzilla size. So I just put that in the drawer, way in the back, and cover it up. Um, so so I asked the therapist, like, why does this happen? And she said, well, it's your body's natural reaction because what's happening is if somebody comes up to you repeatedly and starts punching you in the stomach, once that person approaches you, you're going to start flinching. Your voice muscles are going to tighten and you're going to kind of back up to avoid that pain, the anticipation of the pain. So I said, so basically my vagina broke. So that's the easy way of saying it is my vagina broke. So yeah, so I was doing those I did the treatments for a little bit and then again it was just like it was a very slow process. So there's a cure for it. I just chose not to do it. And then when I got breast cancer, I didn't want to think about using my dilators. My oncologist is like, well, this is estrogen fed. Your libido is going to be non-existent for a while. I'm like, well, it already is. I mean, I don't even know how much more, more possible is it going to be worse? But it was. It got even more dry and
How did
so
that cause? Were you married at the time when all this was going on?
yeah, I met my ex-husband when I was in eighth grade. And then, so he was my one and only, and we were married for 20 years. We got divorced 3 years ago.
So can you talk to me about the sort of stress that this caused in your marriage when you were going through this?
It was, he was patient. I just feel like it was, it was hard for me because I felt like I was always making up excuses, like trying to stay up, uh, let him fall asleep first. So I had to avoid it. So that probably didn't help the marriage at all. And eventually, the level of intimacy kind of diminished in all ways because it's just something I always had to deal with. So it was, he never really said that it was in the back of my head. I feel like that's one of the reasons why definitely that we kind of
Hmm.
distance ourselves. But so, yeah, it
So,
definitely takes a toll.
so you're, so you were saying like, okay, so intercourse is painful. Anything that you would certain to your vagina hurt. So I was reading where even a tampon, trying to put a tampon in there was like super, super painful. So is this pain exclusive to anything penetrating the vagina, or what about the
Externally,
clitoris and external stimulation? Does that hurt too with these
it's
medical conditions?
after I guess it's not as enjoyable as it probably should be, but after all my surgeries, it's more like just I'd rather not any kind of contact right now
Hmm.
or ever, I guess I should say. So it's just very sensitive and not in a good way. So
Interesting. Okay, then so we can shift gears from here into Entwine. So I want you to tell us what your motivation was for creating this dating app, and this is spelled Entwine. And I also want to know what this name means and how you came up with that.
sure. As far as the name of why I called it Entwine, I was going to call it Comfortable Companions, and I was told by many that that sounds like diapers, so don't do that. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess it's probably hard to remember Comfortable Companions. So, so the app developers I did use, they ended up giving me a bunch of options of what I should use, and then when they said entwine, I'm like, what, like entwining hearts, people's lives together, or whatever the heck. So I thought, yeah, entwine sounds good. So it's not a very exciting story, but that's why we called it entwine.
Okay. So was all of your medical conditions and things going on with your body your motivation for starting this app, and that like how your marriage ended? What, tell me in your own words why you wanted to go through the rigmarole, because y'all starting an app isn't just as simple as like making like a Gmail account. It's complex as fuck. It takes a lot of time, money, resources, and dedication. So this is not like, it's not just like simple to start an app, especially something like this. It's a dating app that's running algorithms and all of that. Why did you want to go through all of the painstaking tasks that you had to go through to bring this app to fruition?
So when I was married, my girlfriends would go on traditional dating apps and I would say, "Hey, how was your date?" And they're like, "Ugh, I mean, every guy I meet so far has ED and erectile dysfunction." And I was like, "How old are they?" And they're, well, they're in their 30s or they're in their 40s. And like, well, what are the reasons why they have that? And they would say, like, well, one of them has diabetes, another one might have antidepressants that he's taking or prostate surgery or whatever the reason is. And I thought, why don't you save their number so that if I'm ever divorced, I'll date them. Because if I thought to myself, if I'm ever single, I'd rather either just be single forever, because I thought to have that stress of wondering, is that person going to understand that I don't want to have intercourse? So I'm like, I'll just either stay single or I'd rather date a guy with ED. So I'm like, there should be like a dating app for guys with ED. And then I remember talking about it and then I left it alone, dropped it. And then I don't know, 8 years later, that's when I got divorced. And I thought, again, I'm like, I think I'm going to be single. I don't want to be with anybody. No one's going to understand this. They're going to cheat on me. They're not going to get it. And so then I thought, well, that's not fair. What the heck? I've been through all this stuff. There's a reason why I went through all this. And the reason I thought at first was to help people. Like, I would tell my friends, if you know anybody that's going through a cancer scare, has breast cancer, whatever it is, have them reach out to me. And that's what I would do. And I would talk to people. I'm like, no, I need to do something more. So I thought, what about these guys that have ED? How many times, are they going to get rejected before they just give up? And so I thought, I need to do something about it. So that's why I decided to create a dating app for it. Because I thought, I want to help more people. It's not just me that I want to help. 'Cause I'm still single. I'm not using the dating app yet, but eventually I will. I just want to kind of focus on getting the app established and getting more users. But so then I thought, well, I got to do this. And I was a stay-at-home mom. I worked part-time well, at the time I got diagnosed, I was a secretary at pathology, but then I was a stay-at-home mom. I also worked part-time as a medical transcriptionist. So I thought, I have no business background. I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to figure all this out? So I started doing some research and I found an app company that took extreme advantage of me, meaning they stole a lot of money from me because I didn't know anything about business and they knew it. And they wanted equity in my app right away. So I was like, no, I said, I don't know, maybe. And like, well, we'll give you discount services. And it sounded great at the time because I was running out of money. So I used all my savings. And, and, and I thought, well, they don't want equity because they care about my app. They care about people. They want equity because they want to make money. So I decided to tell them, no, I don't want equity. I don't want you to have equity. And then after that, everything went downhill and stupid errors and glitches. And oh, you want to put a notification on the envelope to say you have a match. Okay. That's going to, cost you something. I'm like, that's functionality, it was like stuff like that. So everything went downhill. So I ended up taking the code and leaving. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I have no more money. I can't do this anymore. And then I thought, this is not right. I mean, I thought I was going to give up but I couldn't because I'm like, again, why did I go through all this? It's not because for me to just get taken advantage of and quit. I'm not going to let anybody take my dream. So I found another app guy and he's great. And he took care of it, a fraction of the costs. And now we're live end of August of last year.
Girl, you damn right you don't let nobody take your dream. It's it's a fucking hassle when you fall into the den of vultures like that. And it happens to all of us. It's happened to me. But I want to encourage people who are trying to start businesses, apps, or whatever, to keep trying. But now there's websites out there like Upwork, Free Up, where you can hire people from all sorts of technological backgrounds. And the beautiful thing is those websites will act as an intermediary and they hold the money so that that other person doesn't get paid until the work is done and it's done right. And they negotiate everything for you so that you don't have the fuckery like what
Yeah.
you went through and everything like that. I've been through that myself and it can be discouraging. I had issues like that, which started my podcast and writing my first book, but you just got to keep on doing it like what you said. But my God, you just want to strangle the people who took advantage of you.
Yeah. Even like I just found out recently, I was looking at there was these graphics that they said they created. Uh and I remember saying, oh, can you change the graphics a little bit? And they're like, well, they're custom hand drawn graphics. So it's going to take some time. Or I have to give you another estimate. And this was in 2019 that I used them. And I just found out from another dating app that just got launched. I was just downloaded it just to look at it, and I found one of my graphics on her app. So I'm like, that wasn't custom. They told me it was hand drawn, and it wasn't even the stuff like that. I was like, how could a company be like that? For me, it's just frustrating. It's just, I know.
You got them out there, honey, but you know what? We gonna move forward.
That's right. I know. I got to stop looking at the past. That's my problem. Is I keep don't
Well,
look back anymore.
it's good to, for the purposes of, like, say, this interview, to talk about that so that other people can know that there are technological solutions and safeguards to this now.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, when we're alone and thinking, I fall into that trap too sometimes of, like, anger might rise up in me. Then I try to, I got to realign myself and focus on what is working and not let those people take my joy anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm tired of people taking my joy. So
not no more.
that's right.
So, so let's get more granular and let's dig into exactly the uniqueness of Entwine. Tell me, like, the typical male person who's going to be on here, typical female person. Are there trans people? And I saw in there, they're like two guys kissing and everything like that. So I know it's LGBTQIA plus friendly. So what are, like, the sex options and all the sexual orientation options that you have?
So because the app is very basic because of funding. So I had to start off with, are you a male or female?
Okay.
And and then are you interested in male, female, or both? So that's what we have for now. But my goal is to have it available for everybody because that's how it should be. And just because of cost, unfortunately, I wasn't able to expand on that. But I, that's one of my main goals is to do that.
Okay. So then within the parameters that you have established,
Mhm.
give an example of the sort of guy who would come on your app, and the sort of girl, what's going on in their life? Are you seeing certain income ranges, certain typical occupations? Just give me an example of a male or female profile.
So since the app ended up launching the end of August, there's not a ton of users. I'll probably get into that later, where how it's very hard to get a hold of users that have sexual limitations. But it's when I noticed that the ones that I do have, so they had to put down if they're male, female, and then has to say their age, their location, do they smoke, do they drink, and do they have kids. So it's very basic. But of course, down the road, it'll be more of an algorithm that or filter. So, and I noticed that the few that have signed up, I'm actually friends with them, and I'm like, "Do you have sexual dysfunction?" There was one guy that signed up, and he's like, "No, I don't, but I'm tired of meeting these women that it's all they want, and I'm okay with not having intercourse. I rather because they're okay with other floors of intimacy, and they're okay with not having intercourse. I don't say sex because it could be oral or whatever.
Mhm.
So, and then the same thing with the women. They're like, I'm just tired of these guys. They're just, that's all they ever do is, that's all they want. And so I had a few women that signed up that they don't have that issue, and they just did because they want something different where it got more of that emotional connection rather than the physical. So it's a variety for now. I don't know the occupations or anything like that yet because it's not in there, and they can type as much as they want in the about me section. They don't have to say what their limitations are until they meet the person. So there's no pressure there because I mean, myself, I tell everybody my vagina's broken, but there may be someone else that went through sexual trauma that may not want to put that in that description.
So then it sounds like not all intimacy is off the table. So it sounds like people who are sexually able can go on here if they are open minded to being with people who are not sexually
Mhm.
able. And then even within the realms of both, there might be other things they can get into
Right.
typically, but sex is not the central focus.
Exactly.
So what? So there was a statement that I read that you wrote, and it said that no one really thinks about people that can't have intercourse. Can you, and I feel like that's a huge motivating factor into why that you created this app in order to create an inclusive space for people who have sexual dysfunction. So can you walk me through some of, like, the emotions that maybe you and people who are suffering from sexual dysfunction, this isolation that it seems like you talk about, because it almost seems like there's a feeling of being discarded or devalued here.
For example, I'm in a couple of erectile dysfunction Facebook support groups, and there will be men on there, and they're like, "I don't know why I'm living anymore. I'm going to be single forever. No one's going to accept me for my issue." And I'm like, I know I want to jump on there and be like, "No, don't think that. There's people out there like women like myself that don't mind if you have a broken dick." I mean, I guess I could say that, right? Because I have a
Yeah,
broken vagina, right?
you could say anything you want, girl.
All right, thank you.
Say
So,
all things.
so I can't really comment because I don't want to get kicked out of the because they say, "Oh, you're promoting your app." Well, my app's free, but okay. So, and they don't know that they have these options, and then there's all these women that have the same thing where they're in my breast cancer groups or the vaginismus groups. There's like 17,000 women in the vaginismus groups. I'm like, how many people have a broken vagina that couldn't believe it? And the ones that are saying like, I'm just going to stay with my husband because no one else is going to want to be with me. I can't have sex. And they're in like an abusive relationship and they don't want to go anywhere else. And guys that cheat and say rude things to them. And I thought this is why my app is made. And then I started hearing some cruel comments myself, and it made me think like this app is needed because the regular traditional dating apps they don't cater to people that have sexual limitations. That's like a given. It's like, okay, after the third, fourth date, we're probably gonna have sex. And imagine that pressure of a guy or a girl to think like, when am I gonna tell this person that I can't have intercourse? Are they gonna make fun of me? Are they gonna reject me? Am I gonna be embarrassed? That's a lot of pressure. And and for me, I did this right away. So if I started meeting, since I got divorced, I started going out more, and I started meeting men, and they're like, "Hey, can I have your number? You want to go out for dinner?" I'm like, "Well, let me tell you about this dating app I created," and then I start telling them about my issue, and the variety of answers are pretty insensitive. So it just again confirms that there needs to be something like Entwine to be have like a safe, comfortable spot for people that have these limitations to find companionship. But when I told these guys this about my broken vagina, they're like, well, several of them said, "Well, you have other holes. Do you like anal?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, I don't even know you for you to even ask me that is just freaking rude." But, and I said, "And so you have other holes?" I was like, "Really? That's really classy." So, or I hear like, "Well, you have the perfect reason why a guy wouldn't want to be with you." That was a good one too. And you have you should never get married. You should never have a boyfriend because you'll never make them happy because you can't have sex. I'm like, it's just horrible. But for me, I'm strong enough to handle it. I wasn't like crying, but imagine like a sensitive woman that just got tr- sexually assaulted, and then or whatever, however, history of it, and then she hears that. I mean, that's horrible. She may never want to go in the dating scene again. At least I wouldn't have. But I'm just prepared to. You're thinking really hard. I could see it. I could see the wheels spinning.
Well, yeah, you're giving me a lot to think about, and I'm absolutely feasting on this knowledge over here. There's so much pain in what you're talking about, and so much rejection and so much fear of rejection, and nobody deserves to live like that. It's reminding me of when I first contracted HIV and hepatitis B, and I was thinking the same thing, like, okay, who's gonna want to be with me now? At what point do I tell them this? How does this go? And you see now, like on the dating apps now, especially the gay dating apps, you can put on there whether or not you're HIV positive, undetectable already. So, but at first it wasn't like that, and you had to determine a point, but now you can put it on there. And so, anybody who responds back to you or who reaches out to you that they're okay with that. But I understand what it's like to have that fear of, okay, are they going to want to keep me around after I tell them this weakness about me, or
Right.
not? And so, some people are like totally cool with dating someone who has HIV, and some people want to head for the hills and everything like that. And it sounds like it's the same thing that's going on in the sexual dysfunction world now. I want to say fuck you to all the assholes out there, like the people who were ta- who were talking to you. And yes, women do have other holes, but there's a classier way to
Right.
bring up. because, on the one hand, if you're talking about sexual, dysfunction, the holes that cannot be used, that conversation is on the table. And so, yes, assholes can be asked about, but it could be like done, a little bit more class or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like, it's,
maybe down the road, maybe like on the, I don't know, fourth date maybe or something.
you
I
know,
didn't even go on a date yet. I was already asking about my holes.
just a smooth question, like, oh, hey, well, what else might you be interested in? And they just let you answer it. And if their answer didn't come up, well, then they can assume that
That
the
would
answer was off limits.
that would
So,
be nicer, but yeah. And my girlfriends, they're like, why don't you wait to tell the guy that you have your broken vagina issue?" And I said, "Well, why?" So I can just like get emotionally attached because I seem to get more emotionally attached than anything because it's I don't want to wait till I'm like 4 dates in and then all of a sudden be like, "Oh God, I really like this guy. Oh, by the way, I have this issue." And then he says, "Oh, you have other holes." I'll be like, "Oh, I couldn't handle that." But if there's no emotional connection yet or attachment, then I'd rather them know then and have them make a decision right at the time. Because which I think, well, 99% of them that I did talk to, they're like, "We never went on a date." Actually, I never went on a date. So, since I've been divorced, because I can't seem to find a guy that is just like I'm not even looking though, I should say. But even if it's just like I don't want them to convince themselves that they don't need intercourse either. 'Cause that's another thing they might do. They're like, "Well, I guess I don't need any more, I'm gonna eventually have ED myself probably," so I'm like, "No, don't convince yourself." Because in the back of my head, it's gonna be like, I either need to fix my vaginismus, which is treatable, but I don't wanna fix it I'd rather fix it for myself than somebody else. So, it's,
well, open relationships are something that I don't think should be off the table really like ever, but especially, in this sort of situation, because like in open relationships, if you have like two people who are in a couple and they allow each other to have sexual experiences with other people, given whatever their rules and boundaries might be, it oftentimes doesn't include any sort of emotional exchange with whoever the extra people are going to be. And so I could see that, and I'm curious what your opinion is, on this. So if you have, say, like one person who it's able to have sex, and the other one who's not, but they really enjoy each other's company and companionship, about letting the person who can have sex maybe have that sex with someone else, but actually building like your core life with, the one person who can have sex and the one person who cannot. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that for me, that's I wouldn't be able to handle it. I know there's a lot of individuals that can do that, but I feel like if somebody's intimate like that, having sex, that there's gotta be some kind of connection there, some kind of emotional connection, and that's in my head. But, like, if I was with somebody and I was just like, if I for my ex-husband, if I just said, "Well, you can't have sex with me, so go somewhere else and get it somewhere else." I would still that would really bother me. And so I wouldn't be able to handle that, but I'm sure there's couples out there are people out there that would be okay with it, but for me, it's just something that I wouldn't be able to live with.
Right? It is about being true to yourself. And I agree with every sexual exchange, there is some level of mental, spiritual, and emotional transacting that does happen. So it's just about what works for you and what doesn't. I just wanted to put that out there as a possible option. Now, I wanted to talk about the self-esteem issues that I'm picking up on here and that I'm hearing in what you're saying, because you mentioned like some people who have sexual dysfunction or in abusive relationships with people who are able to have sex. And so, do you think that people are maybe staying in this abusive situation because of low self-esteem? What sort of self-esteem issues have you seen?
But I think there was the woman I did talk to that her neighbor actually, so I didn't talk to the actual woman, but she said, I talked about my app, and she's like, my neighbor, her husband's emotionally abusive and she had breast cancer. And she's like, and a hysterectomy, and she had chemotherapy, all that stuff that I had. And she's like, and I said, "Well, why is she in the relationship then?" She said, "Well, she said she's afraid to be alone." And she said that no guy's gonna want to be with her because of all of her scars and because she doesn't want to have sex. She's never gonna find anybody. Like, so she's just gonna stay married. And she's like, "Well, that's what she said." I'm like, "Well, tell her about my app because that's another thing too. I want to reach all these people that are married that or are in relationships to know that you probably won't be alone. You just, it's rather to be alone anyway than in an abusive relationship. But when they have all these surgeries and scars and everything, and like my double mastectomy, I don't have any nipples, so that might freak a guy out if he saw that, But and I didn't know that even a mastectomy had nipples removed too as well. So it can't be having removed, I should say. But so that's why the low esteem, they don't have that courage to leave their partner or even enter the dating scene because they have these scars or these sexual limitations. That's why I think Entwine will help them because they don't people more seem to be more understanding, I think, when they're on this app because they know right away that intercourse or sex is off the table or can
Um,
be off the table.
so how many people do you have signed up total on there now?
So 75. I know it's not that many. That's where my problem is getting the word out because the majority of the users are female.
Hmm.
Because I think like the guys don't really want to talk about it. They're more embarrassed about it, and women are a little bit more vocal about it. I think there's only like a few support groups for men with ED, and there's all these women's issues, and breast cancer groups, vaginismus groups. There's other types of sexual dysfunction in women that groups for that. But and then if I put like on Facebook, I'll put on my personal page, I'll be like, oh, please share my app about Entwine. No guys like my post. Nobody wants to be associated with it because it's going to be like, well, that means I have ED. I don't want anybody to know that. So or think that. So the word getting the word out is pretty difficult, but it's available in the US right now only. My goal is to have it available worldwide. And I actually had a few different countries reach out to me, UK, Canada, Pakistan, and even India. They messaged me separately and like, why is your app only available in the US? Please make it available in our country. We need this too. And it's it's needed worldwide. There's estimated going to be 320 million men in the world are going to have ED by 2024. I think the statistics were. It's a lot of men. So and like there's like 30 million men right now in the US that have ED. So like, where are all these men at that are single? We need to hear about Entwine because there's even veterans that I was researching. Veterans I kind of go off. I think about something and I start talking about something else. But these veterans, they have PTSD possibly, or maybe they have depression and they're on these antidepressant meds, or maybe they lost limbs during combat, genitals even, So I thought, what about these individuals? I mean, how are they finding companionship? And then I started seeing that, there's also this high suicide rate for veterans, and some of them, there's not an exact percentage, but they were just at their counselor's office during therapy and talking about how they're very alone and they don't know what to do. And they end up committing suicide. So it's like, I want to save everybody. I want to save veterans. I want to save cancer patients, even people that are not cancer patients. It's just, it's needed in all these different areas. Diabetic clinics. I mean, I didn't realize diabetes causes ED too, So it's just a matter of reaching everybody. And it's just me trying to do this with social media marketing, everything I'm doing on my own. So it's a little slow process, but it's
Well,
getting there.
well, as the Lord says in the Hebrew Bible, it's to despise not the day of small beginnings. And so, every app had to start with an idea and with that first person who signed up. So there's no shame in just having 75 people, 75 today, 100,000 tomorrow. The thing in business is to stay consistent. Time and pressure, are two
Well, I
things.
had 0 before, so 75. I mean, every week I'm like, "Oh, I got another user. I got another user," and I get all excited
But yeah,
about it.
I heard high blood pressure can cause
Mhm.
erectile dysfunction. There's all kinds of medications and diseases out there. For veterans, though, yeah, me being a veteran myself, guys, it's just a lot of stress when you come out of the military, and even when you're in the military, and stress can cause erectile dysfunction. There's so many things,
Mhm.
but I recommend for you to reach out to the DAV, Disabled American Veterans,
Mhm.
and because that's a good association that helps veterans and all sorts of things. They send out, like a monthly magazine. They have a great website. They may want to post your resource on there and include it in their publications. There's the American Legion. There's all sorts of like veterans associations that that are set up to help. And of course, you have mental health clinics in departments of Veterans Affairs, medical centers worldwide. And so I would work with the DAV if I were you and see how you might could help their veterans and then even maybe get this posted in the veterans hospitals worldwide and look into that because the veterans healthcare system is huge. There's
Mhm.
veterans hospitals and then there's little mini clinics in cities where there's not enough population to have a big hospital. But mental health just in veterans alone is like a big deal, and a lot of all kinds of dysfunctions plague us, honey. And the thing with veterans is since we tend to be so broken, the powers that be are that have to deal with us are always looking for some sort of help. There's plenty of veterans who get prescribed like Viagra and Cialis and all of that and everything like that. And so I think it'd be worth your time to look into going down that route. And then suicide, yeah, you had said something earlier about like a form you were in. The guy was like, "I don't want to live anymore," and everything like that. Men attach so much of their value and worth to sexual performance. Why? And I know you're not a man, but why do you think that is, or what thoughts do you have on that? Because for a guy to be like, you know what, I can't fuck, so I'm just gonna kill myself. That's like kind of a big deal, like in terms of like how much he thinks to himself based on how hard his dick can get and what he can do with it.
I often wonder myself. I mean, like, okay, I can have sex, but I don't want to kill myself. It's just like I'm just like, whatever. But it's just like I don't know. It's just like just so like I don't even know what the word is. Not even embarrassing, but I mean, I don't know. They're so attached to that thing, huh? It's their manhood. I don't know. But even like couples that are like the guys that are on the ED page are like, my wife is understanding or she's not understanding anymore and she wants to divorce me now. So I mean guys and girls or girls have it too where they're just like, no, I don't want to be with the guy with ED. Like so uh, it's heartbreaking to see that though. There were several posts that I saw guys they're like, I don't why am I living anymore? And it's I never reached out to them to ask them why, but why they're so like they just don't want to be alone, I think.
They don't want to
Too.
be alone, and they feel like no one will have them if their dick don't work.
Yes.
So, okay, so then what I think this speaks to is our need to, as a society, to reevaluate our value system, our personal value system, and and what we will allow and how we accept value like from other people. So okay, so that means that we got to be sure that we're assessing our value not based on what we can do, but just who we are. So that means that every day that we wake up, we are incredible and wonderful and loving and deserving of love because that's the way God made us. We're here. So whether we perform fantastically today and whatever the task is, be it work, sex, whatever the hell it is that you do, or if you totally suck at it, that doesn't mean that you are a bad person. It just
Right.
means that you are imperfect, which is true. And that's something that we just got to get over and accept about ourselves. We're just not going to be able to do everything and do everything as good as we would want to. And then if somebody wants to reject us because of an imperfection, well, then fuck them. And I don't think that we need to go about the business of being like, I need to fix myself so that people will accept me
Right.
because that's not living truth. The truth is, this is what's going on with me right now. I hope it gets better, but if it doesn't, I'm still going to be all right because I'm more valuable than these physical limitations. I also think it's short-sighted because we have a spiritual aspect of us and a mental aspect of us, and when we die and leave this plane of existence, there will be no dicks and vaginas, on the other spiritual side. These things don't concern angels and demons, and So, I mean, I get, if somebody values something and they've made a big deal out of it, I can see if when it leaves them, they may not know how to cope with that. So, so, so it sounds like then a lot of men may not be seeking mental health treatment to go along with erectile dysfunction. So, what do
Mhm.
you so speak on everything I just said in my tirade just now about the mental, the self valuing aspect of it and the way we receive or how we should reject judgment from other people, and then tie in mental health like counseling implications to this.
Like, for myself, I didn't go for therapy or mental health counseling, but I think like with men, there's actual specific therapists that specialize in sexual dysfunction for men. And I think a lot of them don't know that there's cures for their ED. It's like there's a cure for vaginismus. I know there's a cure, but I don't want to do it. But for these guys that they have these, when they do go to therapy, they might know that there's treatment for it. So they've lost hope, but they don't know that there's penile implants, there's injections, there's certain medications that they can take that would hopefully help them. There's even male penile prosthesis that I met the founder of that guy that makes externally worn penises, and I guess it saves several marriages as well. But so without them going to a therapist and finding out, I don't think that they may not know, and for them to end their life for that, that's even more horrible. But they need to know more about. There's such a stigma for this. It's so taboo, this topic. But I would hope they would talk to somebody and find out what options are out there, and know that they don't have to have surgery to have a penile implant. They can use my app instead, you know, because who wants to have injections in their penis? I think that would hurt, so that's another thing too. It's like maybe they don't want to do those treatments anymore.
I I just really think that we should be more valuable than our dicks. But I can see how
That's
it can stroke a male ego, and then how a woman or whatever it is someone's dating could praise them for their sexual performance. But I just want to encourage people to let their relationships and their self value be based on more than dick and pussy. Like it just
yeah, it would be nice, but
if we can we come a little bit further than that, people. Like, you got- oh, and
I
it's,
mean, not everybody's like that. I mean, there's couples that I hear on Facebook that are like, we have such great other types of intimacy that we don't need intercourse. There's outer course, and they're fine with that. And so
you said outer course.
yeah,
Did you say
like
or other course?
out,
Outer.
outer course instead of intercourse is outer course. So anything like
It's like foreplay.
grinding and stuff, I guess. Yeah, like yeah.
I
Because I
like
mean,
that.
even though you have ED, you still can. What's the proper word? Come, ejaculate. I don't know what's the cool word to use nowadays.
Just ejaculate, come, bust a
Yeah,
nut. All the things.
busting out. You could still bust a nut if you're limp. I don't know if you knew that. You don't have to tell me if you know that.
No, I don't. I didn't know that that was possible.
Yep, I didn't either until I started reading, and I'm like, what? Really? So I guess with the right position, the outer course can work. The grinding and stuff.
Hmm. I suppose so, but there's not a blockage in between the testicles and the urethra, and the flow of semen can flow out because the erection is nothing more than blood rushing into the spongy tissue that makes up, the penis dick area. Blood is what makes dick hard. But I guess, but yeah, I mean, if there's nothing blocking the flow of the sperm out, then sure, why
Yeah,
not?
I
You couldn't.
didn't know.
Hmm. Well, knowledge is power. We gotta, learn, learn. Yeah, we also gotta learn how to love ourselves. I feel like I just keep feeling like the whole broke dick, broke pussy thing is like the kind of like the surface level of this. I feel like that this is so much deeper. I feel like that this is a almost like a cavernous void of I don't know, like just something broken inside a person. Because when you're happy, healthy, and whole, you can have shit fuck up in your life or in your body, and that won't take your joy away from you. When you reach a certain level of mental maturity, spiritual maturity, and emotional maturity, not saying you won't be pissed off if something breaks in your body or if you get cancer or if you get HIV, but you're not going to let it end your life because you
Right.
know how to focus on what is working and not what's not working. So you might have some health issues, but what else? What's actually going on good in your life and everything like that? Why focus and emphasize and make a big deal out of one negative when you got so much positive going on? It's like this whole fight over cut and uncut dicks. People are so goddamn shallow and shit that they made people feel insecure about, okay, I'm not gonna have sex with him. He has an uncut dick. That thing is ugly. Or on the converse, somebody might be like, well, I only want uncut dicks. It's like a whole thing, especially in the gay community. It's like a whole big fiasco. And and I'm all like, God damn it, just shit, dick is dick. At the end of the day, they work the same. All that is a is like a cosmetic thing, there's a hood there or there's not. Yeah, sure you can have your preferences, but it shouldn't be to the point that you make somebody feel bad, if their dick isn't pretty enough,
Yeah.
all of that. And nobody should accept that sort of criticism, from somebody else. And so, again, this just gets me back to watching how we think about ourselves, being sure that our value systems about ourselves not based on superficial things, and also not allowing somebody to make us feel bad over superficial things. If some people should accept you for who you are, no matter what, not
That's
what
right.
you can do.
Yeah, that's how it should be. But
Now you mentioned a statistic about how many men have erectile dysfunction, how many are projected to. What are their statistical projections for women?
I didn't really find much for women because either they don't report it. Like if I didn't go to the doctor, I would never have known I had vaginismus. I would have just probably just like dealt with it. But and I think I had vaginismus back in the day too, when I was when I started using tampons because they were hurt. They would hurt. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, well, I never said anything because it's embarrassing to tell my parents that, my mom that, or whatever, or the doctor that. So so there's not like an exact statistic for women, but I'm sure there's a ton out there.
Mhm. Well, that makes sense since sex is such a big deal for men. If something's not working right, he's probably gonna go run real quick to try to get that shit fixed.
Yeah, and there's a ton of women that have painful intercourse and they just deal with it. And like myself, I went to the doctor when I was early marriage and I would say like sex hurts. I don't know why. It hurts. It hurts. And they're like, well, just relax, have a glass of wine, and you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, thanks. Went to the next doctor, same thing. Relax, have a glass of wine. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's what these women are being told. And said, this time, thankfully, somebody said, my new doctor was like, you have vaginismus. Otherwise, it would have been like, well, you're just too tense. And it's not all mental because I was under anesthesia for having my hysterectomy, and it's a vaginal hysterectomy, and the doctor's like, I couldn't even get instruments in there when you were under anesthesia. She said the thing was just super tight and closed, and not in a good way. So yeah, it's it's not just mental because I heard that too. Like, oh, you're with the wrong guy. Then that's probably what it is. Wait till you're with me. I'll cure you. Sure.
Well, not all doctors are created even. I believe in second, third, fourth opinions, whatever it is that you need in order to until you feel like you received an answer or piece, when it makes sense to you and you're not trying to like negotiate with. If you know some shit ain't right that you're hearing from a doctor, then go somewhere else.
Yes. That's with yeah, especially with cancer stuff. I had a really bad plastic surgeon that a little too confident and messed up my chest, and I had to have the other side removed because of it to make him symmetric. And he was just very cocky. He's like, "Oh, wait till you're done with my once I'm done with your mastectomy and doing your reconstruction, your friends are going to be jealous of your chest." And I'm like, "I don't even have nipples, guy. Come on, what friend's going to be like? Whoa, look at you, Anna." So
Yeah,
yeah, second opinions.
I would have run right then because, if you're in a doctor's office going through what you were going through, at that point in time, it's not about your friends. It's about
I
you
know.
and
He
what
was very
you need.
cocky.
It was about you and what you need to feel beautiful, not about giving you a look so that you can go out there and give shallow ass people a reason to give you an attaboy or an attagirl or whatever. you know,
Yeah.
his heart was not in the right place.
He's not a good guy, but I know how to pick him sometimes, these doctors and
So you mentioned
the
that this app is free,
yes, it's free, and it will have premium features available. Right now, the premium features are free, but once I have enough users, then we'll do the premium services at an extra charge because I have to make some kind of revenues in order to maintain the app. So so yeah, right now it is a free app.
so do you plan to grandfather the people in and give them the premium services to people who have signed up, have been with you from the beginning, or will you give them a discounted rate, or what's the
I'm not
plan?
I'm not really sure yet. 'Cause I was debating if I should do a monthly rate too, because another reason why I wanted to do a monthly rate for everybody is because I don't want someone to just sign up for the app to just to be nosy and just to see, like, let's see if I know anybody that has ED next to me, whatever in my neighborhood. And, I didn't want that freedom because I mean, I would have, like I could tell, like, I already have a fake user on there. It's John Doe. I'm like, or like whatever it was. I'm like, what do I do with this guy? There's no picture of him, so why is he on this app? Is he because he's being nosy or is he being shy? What's the reason? So so I thought that maybe if having like a minimal registration fee or whatever it would be monthly fee that it would prevent malicious users. People would actually know exactly what the app's about. They won't sign up. If it's free, they won't sign up. Or if they have to pay for it, they may hesitate to sign up because they will make sure that they understand what the app's about first.
Right? That might not be a bad idea. I mean, I think eHarmony did something similar, to that, and have done very, very well in terms of, having a fee for everybody, with the money, the things people spend money on, kind of bullshit
Yeah,
people spend money on, you know,
yeah,
hell, coffee is
true.
what, at least $5. And if you dare
Yeah,
eat food, which I hate fast food, but shit, you're looking at a good $8 to $10 for one meal at a fast food restaurant. So a
it's
couple of dollars
true.
a month,
To
you know,
find true love, it's worth it, right?
is totally worth it. And then yeah, you'll get the bullshit ass people off your app that way. So is there anything else you would like people to know about Entwine? This app can be found in like what the Google App Store and the Apple App Store and on the website. Like, so tell us where it is and anything at all you want us to know about the app.
So right now, if you go to entwinedating.com, it's ENTWINE dating.com, you can read the whole history of why I created the app again, if you like. And then also you can download it to the Play Store. So Android, it's available on Android. You can use it as a web-based app. And then also, so iPhone, iOS, I'm working on that because I guess they're not accepting any new dating apps in the App Store right now. So I have to plead my case and show them that this not because they said there's too many scams out there. So I had to show them, look, I have this many users, I've helped this many users. It's been on Google Play Store for how many months or years, and I joined all these podcasts and I'm in this magazine, so it's not I'm a legit person that's creating something to help others. So it's just to show that it's a unique app. And then once I plead my case, I'll be able to go into iOS, which I can't wait for that too, because it's a lot to explain.
Right. So do you have like a Facebook group? Because you can make like a private Facebook group so that people can talk to each other. Do you have something like that set up?
I don't yet. I tried to create like a sexual dysfunction group and I got a lot of creepy people trying to join it. So from different countries and so I'm like, well, that's not gonna work. So yeah, but I do have like my business page, my Entwine Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But as far as like a group for just the users, not yet.
Okay. All right. All right. Anna, well, this is bringing us to the end of our, I felt like, I don't know, very like meaningful and loving conversation here that we've had today. So what advice do you have And I'm gonna let you have the last word here. What advice do you have for people, men and women both, who are suffering from either cancer and or sexual dysfunction?
For the sexual dysfunction, if you're one of those people that have been alone for a long time, this app could be your answer you've been waiting for. And I know it's intimidating to sign up at first, but there's other people out there that are okay with not having intercourse. And just because you can't, if you have ED or vaginismus or whatever condition you have, it's you deserve to be loved too. And I think you should take that leap and join Entwine, and you can have somebody there that's gonna love you just the way you are. You don't have to change for anybody. Just be yourself.
Yep, that's like that. I think that Bruno Mars song. He's like, "Girl, you're amazing just the way you
Yeah,
are."
that's right. Just
Just
be
the
yourself.
way you are.
Did you know I'm a karaoke whore, by the way?
Hey, be a whore, not a bore.
I go to karaoke like 7 days a week when I don't have my kids. That's my outlet.
Damn, you do well in Japan. They love fucking karaoke over there. And then what about closing words for anyone with cancer?
If you are diagnosed, or even if you find like something suspicious, don't hesitate because early detection is key. If I had waited to check my lump out of fear, I wouldn't be here anymore because my cancer was aggressive. And when you do start going to the doctors, get it checked out, I would definitely recommend getting a second opinion. I was always worried about hurting my doctor's feelings to get a second opinion. I didn't want him to find out, but you know what? It's your body, and you need to be your best advocate. You just need to go out there and get as much information as you can. It's very overwhelming, but as long as you have good support system and you have that and accept help from family and friends if you need it. Because that was another thing that I had a hard time doing was someone was like, "Hey, can I bring you meals?" I'm like, no, don't bring me anything. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. But accept help from others and definitely second opinions. That's most important, I think, because you never know. Somebody might have missed something in your pathology report or
All right. Well, bless you, my dear Anna Leonarda. I think that's a
you
beautiful,
too.
powerful mobster as name. Leonarda.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, I look forward to releasing this episode. A very unique perspective you have. I thank you for being so humble, so vulnerable, so transparent, so willing to keep it real and tell the fucking truth, which is, my opinion, makes you one of the strongest people I've ever met.
No, thank you very much.
Absolutely. So here's to a fantastic life for you.
You too as well. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you all so much for taking time to listen to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. It really means everything to me. Look, if you love the show, you can find more information and resources at sexdrugsandjesus.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to reach out to me directly at devanin@sexdrugsandjesus.com and on Twitter and Facebook as well. My name is Devanin, and it's been wonderful being your host today. And just remember that everything is going to be all right.